Welcome to the third episode of Voice of a Niner Faithful. I'm Jason Thiel, your host. Today's episode, we are going to break into three parts. First, a little bit about the Hall of Fame, especially Patrick Willis, but a little bit about someone else. The second, we're going to talk a little bit about the Steve Wilkes firing. And lastly, we'll talk about, I saw recently that we let Oliver go, and we'll discuss that a little bit and possible what we're going to do to refill that spot. So let's get going. So, Hall of Fame, Patrick Willis. I mean, I'm going to read off my other screen here his stats. 8 seasons with the 49ers, all with the 49ers, no other teams. One spot says 733 solo tackles, another thing says 732. That's still awesome. 217 assists, 20.5 sacks. I'm actually kind of surprised about that. I thought he had more. 5 fumble recoveries and 8 interceptions. He was selected to the Pro Bowl 7 times, won Defensive Rookie of the Year, and obviously he was inducted this year. Well deserved. Him and Bowman during their time. I mean, arguably the best team, linebacker team. I mean, yeah, Warner and Greenlaw are fairly close. They need a little bit more time under their belts, but they are up there. I'd say the second best for sure. But yeah, Patrick Willis, awesome. I saw him play. I was at a game back since I live here in Wisconsin. I don't get to go to California to see the games, unfortunately. So I go to the closest games I can. So either Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago. I haven't been to Detroit yet. I'm kind of surprised about that, but I'm going to work on that. But I saw him playing back with Kaepernick, and actually I think it was the one game I saw Kaepernick was still on the bench, and it was still Alex Smith. And it was in Minnesota. It was still the old dome that collapsed. I'm glad I wasn't there for that. But yeah, those nosebleed seats to get to were like climbing a ladder. But yeah, it was still fun to see him play, not just on TV but live. And he's definitely well deserved to be where he is. And it would be, I would love to get a autograph or a mini helmet signed or a full-size helmet. I don't have any full-size helmets signed. I do have a full-size helmet, but I don't know how you would categorize it. My wife found it in a Goodwill here in Wisconsin, and she got it for me for my birthday one year. Or was it Christmas? One of the two. Like this hat, for instance. My wife got me this hat for my birthday, which was last Sunday. So anyway, yes, I would love to get something of his. It would be awesome. I do have a jersey. I have a Patrick Willis jersey. And I wore it during the Super Bowl. So other people that are not in the Hall of Fame that should be, and I wish there was. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do a little research, see what I can come up with. But I think Roger Craig definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It's long overdue. For someone who was the first running back to get 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 passing yards in a season. 3 Super Bowl rings. Oh, hold on. Let me get his stats up here. Yep, I am typing as we go. Roger Craig. got the ESPN thing, and it breaks down everything, not just an overall. All right, here we go. Career stats. Carries, he had 1,991 carries, over 8,000 yards, 56 touchdowns. He averaged 4.1 yards per carry. Come on. Just on that alone, not just the receiving yards. That's awesome. He should be in the Hall of Fame already. There's no reason for it. And I'm sure we can all think of other players that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame from the Niners that aren't. It's unfortunate. I think they're, concentrating lately on the, bigger name people that, some of them deserve it. There are definitely some arguable ones. There's some arguable other players that are coming up to possibly be getting into the Hall of Fame from other teams. Eli Manning, he has 2 Super Bowls and a yes against Tom Brady, but he really wasn't the greatest quarterback in the world. Plenty of other quarterbacks that aren't in the Hall that did better than him. So that's a debatable one, though I have a feeling he'll end up in. Plenty of others. But as for the Niners, happy Patrick Willis is in. I hope someday that Roger Craig gets in. While I've been alive and a fan, even during his time, Roger Craig's time, I unfortunately, as a kid, never got to see him live play. As a military brat, I was a lot of places in the world as a kid, so I did not get to see a lot of football back when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s until I got back to the States, and which was awesome because when I was in the States, when I was a freshman in high school, I lived in Florida at the time, and it was the year the Niners played Miami in the Super Bowl, so that was pretty awesome. By the way, if anyone has heard of it down in Florida, a guy named Rowdy Pinkston, he still owes me money from that game. He was kind of the school bully, and I was definitely the geeky kid at the time. And we made a bet, but he never paid. So, Rowdy, you still owe me. All right, let's get on with the next part of this, and it's the Steve Wilkes firing. Steve Wilkes. I feel for the guy. I honestly do. He wasn't from Robert Saleh to DeMeco Ryans. That was pretty fluid transition. Ryans was under Saleh for 3 years of Saleh's 4-year time. So he knew exactly how Saleh was coaching. They meshed well together. They did things together for the team, and it was much more seamless. So when they went to Wilkes, it was from outside. He wasn't used to the system. He didn't know how to work well with the rest of the coaches, offense, defense, head coach, and he was in a learning phase. So think of it this another way. The players also had to get used to a new coach. They didn't have to get used to a new coach when you went to Ryans, because Ryans had already been there. They were already used to seeing him around. They were used to his style. It was a very similar style to Saleh. So that wasn't a major issue with the players. Now the players have to learn this new system. Yes, it's a new system. You can't say that Wilkes had the same system as Salah, as Ryan's. He had his own system that he had to try to make work with these players, and the players weren't used to that. It's a new coach. So while it took time, they still won those first 5 games. But it was the offense that carried them. It wasn't the defense, unfortunately. The defense still did okay, but they weren't what they were doing with Ryans and Salah. So then comes the next 3 games that we had that 3-game losing streak. And that really got hammered in on Wilkes. That they blamed Wilkes pretty heavy on that, and yeah, some of it rightly so, some of it not. But again, it's still a learning experience. A new coach trying to get his system in place. Now he was in the booth for most of that. Those first 8, he was in the booth for those first 8 games. That was another difference. With Salah and Ryans, they were on the sidelines. They were excited with to be around the players. You could see the hype. You could see one great play, and they're jumping up and down on the high fives all over. It was great to see. With someone in the booth, you don't get that. You don't have that almost, I want to say, camaraderie. So with that missing, I think that did affect the defense. So the talk, everyone heard about it. They had the talk with Shanahan and Wilkes came down from the booth to the sidelines. But if you actually watch any of the games once he got to the sidelines, he still, how can I put it? He wasn't as animated as Ryans and Salah were. He didn't get as you could see some emotion, but nowhere near what the emotion was with Salah and Ryans. And that's what the team was used to getting, used to seeing. They hyped themselves up on just what the coaches were doing. So with Wilkes, that didn't happen, even when he came down to the sidelines. Not saying that Wilkes is a bad coach. I think he's a fine coach. I think if he would have been given another gear, I think he could have got this to work. But now the 49ers are going to have to get another new defensive coordinator. And another person to have to learn from. And the whole rumors of going to get Bill Belichick or any other coaches from other teams that don't have a new home nowadays. Pete Carroll. Really? Pete Carroll? Or even Bill Belichick? Getting either one of those, I think, would be a mistake. Not saying that they don't have the talent to do it. Not saying that they might be able to do something with our team. I'm saying, and no disrespect intended to the age, because I'm no spring chicken. But how long would they stay as our defensive coordinator before they decided, what, I'm kind of tired, I'm going to retire? They're both pretty up there, especially Pete Carroll. So while, yes, we might have them for 1 or 2 seasons, either one of them, then again, we'd have to go back and get another DC. I liked how we got our DC from Salah to Ryans because it was internal. They knew the system. They knew how things were going. The players already knew them, already were used to them, how they knew how that coach was going to be. I think that's what the 49ers need to do. I think they need to get the new defensive coordinator internally. Now, I'm going to have to do a little research on future shows to say what internal person might that be. I know that just from hearing things on online and from watching Sports Center and other things that there's some potential new people that he could bring up from internal. I'd like to take a closer look at who they are and what their experiences have been so far. But I think that would be the better bet. Hopefully someone just as energetic, animated as Salah and Ryans were, because I think that's what our team needs. I think that's what our defense feeds on. Our defense doesn't just feed on the fans in the stands. They feed on what their coaches are doing as well. And if they see that their coaches are just as excited as they are for that game, during the game, after the game, they're going to do better. So, yes, internal for the defensive coordinator. I still think Wilkes got shafted. I'm going to just be blunt. He got shafted. I think he would have done better in his second year. The team would have been getting used to him more. But it's unfortunate. I hope he finds a new home fairly quickly. I think he will. I think he'll get hired faster than a Bill Belichick or a Pete Carroll will. So let's good feelings towards Steve Wilkes. All right, so now let's move on and talk about the Oliver release. Let's bring that up on my screen. Let's see if I can bring it up here. I've been trying to get certain things up here. I think I can. Let's see if I can. I did it once. I did it in my first episode, but I am honestly unsure of how I did it. Mike, script, share. Oh, here we go. Share screen. Share screen. The site will be able to see. Share screen. I want to share. Where's Oliver release? How do I share that? Select the tab to share. Window. There we go. That's what I want. Want that one. Share. All right. There it is. So they've released Isaiah Oliver. He signed with the Niners, as it says, on March in 2023. 17 games, 58 tackles, 2 pass defenses, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery, and all 3 postseason games. A lot of the things I've heard so far have been that at the beginning of his time with the Niners, he did really good, but then he started to not do so good in the second half of the season. So while he was in there, he wasn't really helping the team. I mean, he kind of had to be in there, I guess, because Huff being out. Boy, speaking of Hufanga, I hope he comes back super strong. We definitely could have used him. He's awesome, by the way. I'd love to get myself a Hufanga jersey. And I plan on doing that in the future. So, with Oliver out, but Hufanga's coming back. Yeah, Hufanga's safety. Isaiah was cornerback, but the whole issue was I think Oliver was occasionally switching, doing a little safety-ish stuff. Yeah, he was more corner, but I think a lot of it was because he was in there because Hufanga was out. So what I think that the Niners need to do. Okay, I'm gonna close this out now if I can figure that out. and I can't, so we're just going to leave it. Oh, wait, stop. There we go. Yeah, I'm still learning my system here. I'll get it done, don't worry. But what they need to do is, in my opinion, of course, voice of a Niner faithful, they need to pick a new one or two, maybe probably two would be better. Pick up two cornerbacks in the draft. One probably third round, and one probably fourth or fifth round. I think our first and second round should go elsewhere. Another episode for that. But third round and maybe a fifth round, get two. We do have pretty good luck on those later round draft picks, so maybe we'll get really lucky with that fifth round, but maybe the third round will actually do something. We haven't had a lot of success with our third round picks lately anyway. So hopefully we can pick somebody up. I don't think at the moment with the whole cap space thing, they bumped it up a lot more than we hoped, which is good. So again, another episode we'll talk about keeping our wide receiver Brandon Ayuk and have a discussion about that. That's a whole nother story. His brother going off on social media about that. Whole nother episode. So pick up two cornerbacks in the draft. I don't think we need to go out and get one. I don't think as much as Surtain would be great to get, but I don't think if we want to keep Ayuk, that we'll be able to afford to go get Surtain. But I think who we have, obviously minus Oliver since he's gone, with two more new rookies, I think that will be good for this next year. If we have to pick somebody up before the draft deadline or the trade deadline later on in the next season, then so be it. But let's see what we can do with the draft. We actually have draft picks to work with. Not that we haven't in the past, but we actually have a first and second round pick. Yay! So let's see what we can do. I think we can pull it off. That'll be a future episode as well. We'll talk about what cornerbacks are out there in the draft and who we could pick up. From what I hear, speaking of a little future draft talk, there's a lot of good offensive linemen in this draft, and that's personally what I think we should go after in the first round. But that's just me. So Isaiah Oliver out. Two rookies, I think, should cover that in third round, fifth round. And other than that, it's been a long week. This is Saturday, not Friday, like I thought I would be able to get to, but Saturday. Still within the same week. I'm going to keep trying to do that. Friday, Saturday now. So unless I find some other job, this is when these will drop. And this one I see and can tell is much smoother. The lighting is a little off. I'm going to try to work on getting something for that this week. See if I can work the light a little better. That's one of my issues now. And I'm thinking maybe next week I might try this on my phone because the phone's camera is better than my laptop's. Or I might try in the future getting a webcam that I can plug into my laptop and put on the top of the laptop or on top of my bigger screen, which is next to me, and see what I can do with that. And I might try a different thing I'm using as a studio program. Right now I'm using a thing called Riverside. Seems okay. I'm not sure if I want to pay for the extras that might improve things. I want to see if I can find try out some other programs. My nephew, who is in college for film, he's going to be graduating next year, UW Milwaukee. He's going to be giving me some advice on what he would use for something of this nature. And I also have another individual who I'm going to ask, so if he's watching this, my fan group on Facebook, Niner Faithful. There's someone there who's in film as well, in school for it. I'm going to ask him as well. And hopefully he can design me a nice logo. I have one. If you watch my first episode, it's up there. I think Riverside allowed me to do that for the first episode, but I can't seem to get it back up there. So I'm going to work on that as well. And hopefully everyone is enjoying a small taste of a Niner fan outside of California, talking about our team, and things are going to get interesting this next year. I think we'll make another Super Bowl run. I'm confident on that. So hopefully we'll make it. And either way, Niner fan for life. Doesn't matter how well we do. So all of you out there in YouTube podcast land, you all have a great night. And I'll see you next week.